Hello, my name is Rebecca Saunders. I am the Technical Services and Archives Librarian at Franklin Pierce University. So part of my job is managing the physical archives of Franklin Pierce as well as developing our new digital archives. And today I'd like to talk to you about searching and browsing in the digital archives and in general how you can use the digital archives and give you some other information about using all of our archival collections. So if you give me a moment, I'd like to go ahead and share my screen with you. Okay, I believe you should be able to see the screen now. So this is our home page for the digital archives. And you can browse down here to see our collections. We only have our few primary collections uploaded thus far. I'd like to make a note about how you can find the archives. You can save or write down this URL and bookmark it in your browser, but don't worry if that's, this is a friendly URL, but you don't have to do it that way. You can also access the digital archives from our library homepage. So there are plenty of places you can find it. And once you do get here, you can navigate through there by interacting with our 4 collections that we have. So far, we have our Pierce Arrow newspapers, our Alumni Magazines, our yearbooks, and we have a small collection of photographs of some administrators so far, but in the future, there are plans for more robust photograph collections as well. And I'd like to point out that if you ever have any questions about anything related to the digital archives or the physical archives, you can click this link here, and that will take you to my profile page for the library. I'll just show you what that looks like briefly. And here you can schedule an appointment with me. Now that can be a physical appointment in person if you'd like to visit campus when it's safe and the library reopens, or it can be a virtual appointment. You can also email me, and here is my office phone number. Okay, so just don't forget that we're always here available to help you if you ever would like assistance. So before we dive into using the digital archives, I'd like to offer a brief disclaimer. As we were getting started with building the digital archives, we've gone ahead and uploaded these primary collections as we still continue to work on some of the back-end description of the archives that will make them more discoverable and more accessible in the future. So they're there for you to browse and search. We didn't want to hold back on that, but as we continue to work on this behind-the-scenes back-end stuff, they will be further developed and the tools that I'm going to show you today will be more effective and short. So first I'd like to talk about browsing the archives, and then we'll talk about how you can do some direct searches. So just a moment. I'd like to show you the difference of how the collections will look when they do and they do not have metadata or records associated with them. When you open up a collection to browse, it'll first take you to the About page here. And that's kind of interesting because I've included some links where you can see what the current publications are if you're not familiar with those already from both Pierce Arrow and the Alumni Magazines. And you'll just hit Browse to open the collection and see all of the documents associated with each collection. So for our Alumni Magazines, this is one of the collections that we haven't gotten to yet as far as essentially digitally cataloging them and writing metadata for them. They're pretty bare bones. You'll see in a moment when I compare it to the other collection which has metadata for it. And this is what our record looks like when we open each one. And you'll see here these descriptions are pretty bare bones, but they still have the basic information, especially the date associated with them. But just keep checking back, and throughout time these will be more robust, as I say. And here is the collection for Pierce Arrow that I opened up. So you can see that these are some individual newspapers left that are like the Alumni Magazines, don't have their records, but this is what our end goal is. This is what records will look like when they're completed, and this in the end makes them way more discoverable, way more searchable for both searching and browsing strategies. Excuse me. And so I'd like to make a quick note as well. When you are browsing and you open up a collection, you are now only in that collection. So if you want to go to your search bar and search some more, you're only going to be searching in this collection. So let's say you were looking around at the Pierce Arrows and then you thought, I'd like to see what's available with Pearly Lake throughout all of the archives. If you want to move back out of the collection, you need to navigate back to the home page by clicking here on this logo. and it will take you back to the screen. And if you search here, you are then searching in all of the collections again. So that's something that's important to remember. Now, when I speak about the metadata and the records, they're what build these, what we call search facets. And if you remember when we were looking at Alumni Magazines a moment ago, they don't have these yet, but these become extremely important for looking for browsing through different issues that are related to our collections. For example, the first facet that we have are our topical subject headings. These are controlled vocabularies that we've adopted from standardized frameworks. And then we've developed these local controlled vocabularies as well that are associated with Franklin Pierce University. So we have like clubs and other corporate personal names associated here. Actually, excuse me, there will be no personal names, but these are Franklin Pierce related subject headings. And these are Franklin Pierce related locations that you can search by. Now, again, we're developing this so it'll be more robust in the future. But let's say we wanted to see what was up with subject headings associated with Ravencroft Theater. Open that up and it will give us a list of all of the collections or items that have been identified as being associated with Ravencroft Theater. So when this is complete, you will be able to find all of the newspapers that have information about Ravencroft Theater. And back to the main subject search, or the search facet here, I want to make a quick note about the dates. Unfortunately, the way this is designed is that they are in order of the amount of times they appear. So you can see in parentheses, we have these numbers there. This is saying, well, there are 15 newspapers that have the year 1990, so they come up on top. We cannot sort them to be chronological, unfortunately. As we go through and add more individual dates, they will kind of appear chronologically. But in any case, if you're having trouble finding the year you're looking for, I'd like to recommend a quick tip. You can go to your keyboard and hit Control F. And then if you're not familiar with that function, this is common across different web pages. You will then be able to Control F for find. You'll be able to find what you're looking for on this web page. So let's say that you wanted to see what newspapers were available from 1974. Just Control F 1974 and it'll highlight it for you rather than trying to, it becomes rather strenuous to look for your year when they're not sorted in chronological order. But then you can click on your desired year or date, and it will show you all of the objects associated with that date in that results page. So those are extremely useful for browsing. And as we continue to develop the behind the scenes records, they will become more effective over time. So just keep that in mind. And now I'd just like to show you a little bit about how to read and to use the individual records. Excuse me. So you usually have to give these pages a few minutes to load, especially when you start navigating to other pages. Just have to be a little patient there. But this is your document reader. This is where you'll access the document, and I'll show you more about that in a second. And obviously, you will be navigating to the different pages of your document here. Now, these early Pierce arrows commonly only have 4 to 8 pages, but even with our yearbooks that have hundreds sometimes of pages, you'll always be able to navigate here and then navigate between different listings of the page numbers there with those arrows. So I'd like to show you these things really quick. These are fairly important if you are doing some intensive searching. The transcripts here are something to pay attention to. Most of our transcripts are automatically generated using what we call optical character recognition, and many times those are full of errors. So they're still important before we add the metadata because they make these records keyword searchable as long as there are no errors in the words you're looking for. This is an example of a transcript that has been manually edited by one of our wonderful staff members. And so it's legible and it's human readable, and there aren't any errors that we find frequently with the OCR transcripts. So if you see a transcript, let's go look at that really quick. Here I can tell this is a record that doesn't have metadata associated with it yet. And let's check out its transcript. Just a moment while it loads. All right, And remember, these are collapsible, so you can open up transcript here. So this is one that has been automatically generated, and that's how it's going to appear. Luckily, this one doesn't have too many egregious errors that we can see at first glance. But this is when you'll be able to tell that this record, see it's automatically generating these, there's some errors there. But remember that we're going back through, and it's very time consuming, but if you're patient, we will complete editing all these transcripts in due time. And I'll repeat though that they are still essential even if they're not human readable for making our collections keyword searchable. So once again, this is an edited one. This is what we're striving for. And then I'll just show you these other two functions. Your object description describes, and it's the record for the entire newspaper or book. It's the document's entire description. The item description, on the other hand, is the description for the page. So this is where we'll provide detailed information such as topical subject headings and descriptions for the individual pages of a document. The object description describes the newspaper as a whole. So those are important things to know, and they are useful when you begin some intensive searching in the digital archives. And just like with the search facets that I showed you on the collection results page, these subject headings will take you to a results page that have all of the topics or subject headings associated with them. So let's say I was interested in academic libraries. You can click on it from there, and it will populate your search results page with all of the newspapers in this collection that we have associated with academic libraries so far. So those are just some quick tips about using the records, and in time, as you continue to check back and use the archives, they will be more robust and more discoverable. And before we navigate away from this, I want to show you the document reader. This is very useful because if we're just looking at this page that is illegible print, so you expand the document here and it will open up in this PDF viewer. And just like when you're navigating through pages, you have to be patient as it loads, unfortunately. But there it is. And it's much more legible now. And I'm able, if there were photographs on this page, I would be able to see the details of the photographs. You're able to zoom in or out here in the middle of the toolbar. And you can search within a page here by clicking the magnifying glass tool that's Find in Documents. And I wanted to also show you, this is your download button. If you wanted to save any pages for your own personal records, or you're interested in something, you can download this to your own device. So those are important things to know if you're going to be searching a lot or browsing a lot in the digital archives. I'd also like to show you, just as an example, see I've clicked on page 3 here. This is how long it might take to load. You can see that it has selected it because the title has changed. You might think that it's not it's not selected. It is, it's just it does take a few minutes for that to pop up. So that's something that you can expect. There's nothing wrong with your computer or your browser. It just takes a few minutes to load. That's perfectly normal. Okay, so that's a good overview of how we can browse within the collections. Now I'm back on the home page here, and I want to try a few searches and show you how effective searches are. I have been provided with a list of a few notable alumni that might have good results in the archives. And as I conducted tests with these searches, it confirms that records that have metadata associated with them and names that appear in records with metadata associated with them are going to have better results when you're searching. So searching is something that's still going to be developing over time, and keep that in mind. But let's just conduct a few searches here before I go on too long. So our first example is Mr. Henry Ellis from the class of 1969. He's lucky for the digital archives in that capacity that he was a contributor for the Pierce Arrow, and he's in the class of 1969, so we have lots of records for 1969 already completed. So we're going to get some good results for him, and this is going to be a good example of how all the searching will be as we go through and near the completion of this back-end stuff we're working on. Okay, so we search here up in this search toolbar up here, and you do have the option of selecting advanced search. Let's just take a look at that. You can select some different fields and add different fields, and the fields will include things like title and subject. So that's going to be just like, it is an advanced search function. This is more advanced, and kind of out of the scope of the brief overview we're doing today. But if you ever have questions about this, always remember that you can contact me. But yes, for our purposes now, let's just do the general search bar. And I'm going to type in Mr. Ellis's name. Search, hit enter. Okay, so we can see that there are lots of newspapers associated with him, just as I explained a moment ago, and these are all completely filled out records. So this is our end goal here. And let's open one up, and I'll show you how you can see what you've searched for. And of course, you don't have to open a new tabs like I'm doing. That's a habit of mine, but you can also obviously just click on it and it will open up in the window that you're browsing in. But this is the record that I wanted to select first. Okay, so now once you access a record that you've after you conducted a search and you select one record from your results page, you can then search within the record up here in the page menu. So I'm going to search again for his name. We know that he's in this newspaper somewhere, but where, the question then becomes, where in the newspaper do I find him? So then you search within the record, and these red bars indicate that these are the pages where we can find his name. Secondarily, once you identify which page the person or topic you're looking for appears in, open up that PDF viewer again, go ahead and expand it, and then it will highlight on the page where exactly he is, so you don't have to scan all of that newspaper prints. Let's just give it a moment to load. And there we go. We see Henry Ellis is mentioned here in this article, and the highlighted text will help you find where exactly the subject or person you're looking for appears. Let's look at this page as well for a moment. Because Henry Ellis is on this page too. And I believe he'll appear as a contributor on this page. Yes, this is what I was speaking about a moment ago. He appears in lots of newspapers because Henry Ellis was working on the Pierce Arrow in the 60s. Okay, so that's just a brief overview of searching one name. Let's go through a few other examples though. I'm going to go back to the home page here. Always remember, if you're wanting to go back to the home page, this is a link, this logo, it will take you right back to the home page. So there we go, we're back at the home page. Let's conduct a search for someone else. Now this is the next two examples. I have two more examples. They're examples of individuals who appear in the archives, but they will probably have more records associated with them than the results that we're getting. So because they're in later years, so this is an explanation of how our backend stuff will affect searching over time. As we go ahead and develop more robust descriptions over time, the searching function will become much more effective. But we do get results when we search these names. So my next name is going to be Michael McMelvin. Michael Mc, this is nickname Melvin. So let's search for Mr. Melvin. It's loading. Okay, so he is from the graduating class of 1988. So I know that this isn't necessarily his graduating class. We would expect that his graduating class yearbook would appear 1907 to 1988. That's an example of how this will become more effective over time. But he does appear in this book. We know that he was at college during this year. So let's check out this yearbook and do another example of searching within the record. All right, so we have, see, this was what I was speaking about a moment ago. There are multiple pages that you can navigate through here. So just keep that in mind. Okay, so I'm just gonna search Mr. Melvin's last name here. And once again, as I demonstrated a moment ago, it will take you right to the pages that what you're searching for appears. And let's go ahead and open that document viewer, just to see where the highlighted text appears. There he is, McMelvin appears in one of these photographs. So that's wonderful. Also a quick note, as I talked about a few moments ago, you'll recognize this as one of the raw or rough transcripts that we'll go through and edit in time. But your search term does also appear highlighted in the transcript as well. So that's another place to look for it. Okay, so I don't want to go on too long, so I want to do our last search here. And that is going to be for Diane, nicknamed Denny Parvin, from the class of 1969. Let's not put the quotes, one moment. That's how the nickname appears. Let's just not put the quotes there in the search. Okay. So Ms. Parpin does appear in this issue of the Alumni Magazine. See, our date is there. And we can look in the transcripts. She's not appearing highlighted there. But it takes us directly to the page that she appears in, page 34. Once again, identified by the red bar that indicates where your search term is. Let's go ahead and open it up, see where she comes up on the page. And yes, this article is all about Ms. Parpin, so that's why it was easily indexed by our keyword search for her name. And this is from the Alumni Magazine. So this is a spotlight feature on one of our alumni from '69. So yes, you can try searching your own name if you're an alum and see what results you get, but keep checking back and keep playing with it and experimenting with it. And as you learn more about the digital archives and as you experiment with the digital archives, we're also developing this to be more discoverable and more robust over time. So it's going to be exciting for everyone. Okay, and before we conclude now, take you back to the home page, I'd like to show you. So thank you very much for taking the time to listen to this video today and to learn more about how to access the digital archives. I'm very excited to meet with you if you're interested in visiting the archives in person, or to speak with you if you have any questions about using the digital archives. So thank you very much, and take care. Also browse this way. This will take you to our brief about page. Not much of consequence there if you've listened to this video, but what I really want to show you is the link to our special collections page, archives and special collections page. This page is all about our physical archives. So if you ever have questions, if you're interested in visiting the physical archives, if you're interested in making donations to the physical archives, if you would like to fill out a reproduction request form, all of the information that you need is going to be here. My contact information is listed here as well. You can schedule an appointment with me through both of these links. I'm readily available for appointments, as you can see. But if you go to this policies and procedures page, this is where you'll find some important documents about accessing the archives, reproducing materials. This is for items that are not in the digital archives, that aren't accessible online already. If there's something in the archives that you would like to have a copy of, you can fill out this reproduction request form that's listed here. You can make donations if you have items that you think would be a good addition to our collection. You can find information about how to do that here. And this is just a good gateway into accessing our physical archives or visiting us. So I'm going to stop my screen share now and conclude. So thank you very much for taking the time to listen to this video today and to learn more about how to access the digital archives. I'm very excited to meet with you if you're interested in visiting the archives in person, or to speak with you if you have any questions about using the digital archives. So thank you very much and take care. See you soon.